Alright, we're back with the Team Liquid Star League, and you're listening to Vol. We're actually watching a game between TSL Redeemer and TSL Ptak. He spells his name P-T-A-K, so I'm going to call him Ptak. Redeemer, by the way, is actually tot.incontrol, I believe, but I'll be referring to him as Redeemer in this replay because that's his alias for this game. Both players in the TSL, and both players are Zerg, and this game will actually be my first ever Zerg versus Zerg mirror match commentary, so really looking forward to it. I don't actually play much Zerg, so it's quite rare that I check out a Zerg versus Zerg game. But this game actually came in as number 3 for the weekly top replays competition, so it is probably a good replay. We'll see how that turns out. We've got Ptak in brown at the right hand side of the map, and we've got Redeemer on the left hand side of the map as white. The map is Zodiac, which is quite a good map. I quite like it. It's very similar to Python, but it's got the inner gas expansions next to your main base. Both players starting out fairly, pretty much exactly the same thing. Both going for the early gas, both going for the spawning pool before second hatchery, and this is fairly standard stuff in Zerg. Both players will send their overlords to the top 12 o'clock position expansion just to find their opponent, but because they've spawned cross map, nothing's going to be happening in regards to scouting just yet. Both players building 6 Zerglings immediately. We've got Redeemer going for the Zergling speed, and I'll be expecting to see Zergling speed from Ptak as well. Yep, there it is there. Now, Zerg versus Zerg is like a real sort of micro-war kind of matchup. It's real sort of cutthroat and vicious, and there's not really too much room for error. It's quite different to the Protoss and Terran mirror matches, because those mirror matches are very much macro-management oriented, and they are sort of rock, scissors, paper style strategy-wise, but Zerg versus Zerg, you've got micro battles like the one we're watching here. Both lots of Zerglings meet each other right in the middle of the map, and it looks like Ptak has actually won that battle, so in control will be retreating back to his base, but that will give him enough time to build some more Zerglings, and that'll be it for Ptak's attack until we've got more Zerglings to back him up. So yeah, most Zerg games really consist of a lot of Zerglings at the beginning, really early lair. We've got lair from Redeemer and lair from Ptak, but interestingly enough, we've actually got a second hatchery before lair goes up for Ptak, so that already is the first distinction in their 2 build orders. So now we can actually start talking strategy-wise as to what each player has decided to opt for and which one is going to come out stronger as a result. In control has built a lot of Zerglings, and I guess he can afford them as he didn't have to build that second hatchery that Ptak does. But Ptak has got more options for his economy now, because he'll have a larger amount of build queues because of the larvae. Got a Zergling battle going now, and in control, or Redeemer shall we call him, has actually won that, and he might actually be able to break into Ptak's space. So this is actually looking like a bit of trouble here for Ptak. Those drones are completely undefended right now, so Zergling swarming in. The drones are desperately trying to sort of scramble together to form a defense, but Redeemer's going to be able to do a fair bit of damage here. This is not looking too good. If Ptak actually loses a bunch of drones, then that could be it for him, and bear in mind that Redeemer got his lair up a lot quicker, so his spies going down, and once those mutalisks arrive, it's going to be all over for Ptak. But thanks to there being 2 hatcheries, he can build a lot of Zerglings in a short space of time, so we've got some reinforcement Zerglings there, just able to drive out Redeemer Zerglings. Well, he might be able to anyway. Yeah, it looks like he's going to be able to do that. But what I'm more worried about is the Spire, which is nearly finished, and Ptak has not even begun a Spire, so he's going to be in real trouble, because once the mutalisks are out, Redeemer's going to have complete control over the map, and looks like a building on it. It's not a Spire, that is an evolution chamber, so real defensive play by Ptak here, which is a bit unusual in Zerg versus Zerg. I mean, usually the strategy is for both players to try and be as aggressive as possible using the same strategies and just pulling it off that way. So Creep Colony is going to be building a Spore Colony just to stave off the Mutalisks when they inevitably arrive to take out his drones and Zerglings. Redeemer's bringing his Zerglings in now just to try and get a kill there, but just doesn't have quite enough of them. Ptak has actually been successful in his defense so far. We'll see what happens when these Mutalisks show up. But I find this a really interesting style of play. He's actually just buying himself a lot of time. Maybe he knows, I guess he does know that Redeemers are still only on one hatchery, so technically Ptak does have an economic advantage, even though he's have to spending a lot of money and drones on the evolution chamber. Oh my god, that gas extractor is actually just out of range of the spore colony, so those Mutalisks are able to pick it off. Ptak actually putting down a second creep colony to make up the extra range now, but that's just unfortunate, and it's going to prevent him from harvesting gas. Just as a countermeasure, Ptak is moving out his Zerglings to just put some pressure on Redeemer and try and take the focus away from his base. It looks like that's not really going to be met with much success, because those Mutalisks can just harass the Zerglings and then return straight back to attacking. But luckily, we've got that creep colony finished now, so the spore colonies do have full range of the base. Redeemer's putting down his second hatchery finally, and Ptak is putting down his spire finally, so maybe we'll see some Mutalisks eventually to try and combat Redeemer's ones, but he's going to be behind on air units for a while, and I'm just worried that he's not going to be able to get enough momentum up to be able to take this game. So yeah, real defensive play in Zerg. Honestly, I can't say too much about it. I don't watch so many Zerg versus Zerg games that I actually see a game in this situation. I mean, I've watched plenty of Zerg versus Zerg games which result in real sort of cutthroat micromanagement wars between Zerglings and Mutalisks, but nothing too much like this. That spire had to be rebuilt because the Mutalisks were sniping at it, but let's have a look. Yeah, it's going to be taken down. Oh god, this is not looking that great for Ptak, is it? Because he's just being delayed and delayed, and what I'm worried about is that once Redeemer builds up a large force of Mutalisks, he'll be able to expand in a number of locations and keep it going there. We've got +1 weapons upgrade for the Mutalisk flyers, so they're really going to be ahead in terms of damage and so forth. That spire being built again in a safer location for Ptak. And he's going to have to stay put. Well, this it's not really turning into a very micromanagement intensive game after all. It looks like we've got one player camping out. We've got a third hatchery going down there for Redeemer, and the other player just playing a standard game. So looks like it could be a while before we see any action, guys. I'll just be sort of casting things as they happen and hopefully talking about a bit of strategy, but just so far, both players are really content to just hold off each other and not put any pressure on while we just move into mid-game and probably even late-game the way this is going. Yet another creep colony for Ptak, so yeah, he's really playing it defensively. He just doesn't want to get swarmed at this point. Maybe he's got a plan for later on, we'll see. Mutalisks sort of just moving around the base, just see if they can snipe anything that isn't in range. And they're off again. Got a lot of drones there for Ptak, so I'd like to see him expand to his natural expansion, take that one. Redeemer is not heavy on drones, but he wasn't counting on needing a lot of drones because he didn't expect the game to turn out like this, I feel. We've got a lot of Mutalisks for him, and they were primed for a big attack, but that's not really going to happen because instead Ptak has gone for the defensive end. Look at that, he's actually built a lot of Scourges instead of Mutalisks, so he's really just... he knows that if he only builds a few Mutalisks, he's not going to have enough to actually win a decisive air battle against Redeemer and then go on the offensive. Instead, he's just counting on making sure that he's got enough to take out the Mutalisks wherever they are on the map, and he won't need that extra power to actually attack Ptak because he's probably got some other plan. Maybe he's going to build some other kind of unit, more Zerglings maybe. Or maybe he'll follow up with Mutalisks, we'll see. Now's the point, we've got the third hatchery for Ptak. And I think what's enabled to him to do that is the Scourges, of course. If he had done that any earlier, the Mutalisks would have just shown up to take it out. But now he's got to a point where he can actually fend off the Mutalisks thanks to his large group of Scourges. And it'll be time to transfer some drones down there because he's been building them up and building them up. And after that, I really need to see him pull off some kind of strategic ploy to just get back in this, because he can't afford to leave it too long, because Redeemer can obviously switch to building drones instead of units, and soon it'll be him that has the economic advantage. I would say that it's Ptak who has the economic advantage right now, but time is ticking, and we'll see how that pans out. Yeah, once again, just a very, very strange Zerg versus Zerg game, just due to the lack of action that's occurred. I mean, we're 10 minutes into the game, and still we're yet to see a major fight. Neither player has gone to Hive yet, so we're still relatively in the mid-game. Haven't got any more expansions. It's interesting how in Zerg vs Zerg games you don't see the players taking the map very quickly. What else can we take a look at from each base? Looks like Redeemer's put down some defense as well.